Everyone remembers the Phantom, but that's just the beginning. Here's every US jet used in the Vietnam War. Do not blink. Starting off with attack and strike jets, Douglas A-4 Skyhawk, the Navy's primary light attack jet during the war. It was the aircraft flown by John McCain when he was shot down over Hanoi. Grumman A-6 Intruder, a heavy-hitting all-weather bomber that was famous for its low-level night strikes against North Vietnamese targets during Operation Rolling Thunder. LTV A-7 Corsair II. This precise subsonic bomber arrived later in the conflict and played a massive role in the 1972 linebacker bombing campaigns. Now this is the Cessna A-37 Dragonfly, developed for counterinsurgency. This super tweet was used extensively for close air support by both the US and the South Vietnamese Air Force. Douglas A-3 Sky Warrior, known as the Whale. It was the largest jet ever built for regular service on an aircraft carrier during the entire conflict. Next on the list is strategic and tactical bombers. Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, the giant of the air war, its arc-light carpet bombing missions, and the 1972 Christmas bombings defined its terrifying presence in the skies. The next one, Martin B-57 Canberra, a tactical bomber that specialized in night interdiction, hunting for supply trucks along the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos. Douglas B-66 Destroyer, originally designed as a bomber. It was used mostly for electronic intelligence to help strike groups find their targets safely. Let's move on to fighter and interceptor jets. McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II, the most iconic fighter of the war, serving as the primary MiG killer for the Air Force, Navy and Marines throughout the conflict. Next, Volt F-8 Crusader, celebrated as the last of the gunfighters. This agile jet maintained the highest kill-to-loss ratio against North Vietnamese MiGs. North American F-100 Super Sabre, the primary close air support jet for troops in South Vietnam and the aircraft used by the early MISTI forward air controllers. Republic F-105 Thunder Chief, the Thud, bore the brunt of strike missions over North Vietnam and pioneered wild weasel tactics to destroy enemy SAM sites. Convair F-102 Delta Dagger. These Delta Wing interceptors were stationed at Tan Son Nhut and Da Nang early in the war to protect against potential North Vietnamese air raids. Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, a supersonic interceptor briefly deployed to Da Nang and Thailand to provide high-speed escort for strike groups and radar aircraft. Then Northrop F-5 Freedom Fighter, evaluated in combat under the Skoshi Tiger program. This nimble jet eventually became the backbone of the South Vietnamese Air Force. General Dynamics F-111 Aardvark utilized its advanced terrain following radar to fly dangerous solo, low-level night missions over North Vietnam during the final years of the war. Grumman F-14 Tomcat, making its combat debut at the very end of the war. It provided top cover for the evacuation of Saigon during Operation Frequent Wind. North American FJ-4B Fury, a classic swept wing jet. It was adapted from a fighter design to perform low-level conventional strikes for the Navy. Moving on to reconnaissance and intelligence jets, Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, flying at Mach 3. It conducted high-altitude reconnaissance over North Vietnam, gathering intelligence that was impossible for the enemy to intercept. Next, Lockheed Ir-12 Oxcart, a top-secret project for the C-1A. It was the forerunner to the Blackbird and flew high-speed reconnaissance missions over the north. Lockheed U-2 Dragon Lady, operating from the edge of space. These high-altitude gliders monitored North Vietnamese SAM sites and troop movements throughout the war. McDonnell RF-10 Quan Voodoo. These fast photo recon jets flew hazardous, low-level solo missions to document North Vietnamese defenses before and after major airstrikes. Up next, North American RA-5C Vigilante, a sophisticated carrier-based scout that used multi-sensor cameras to map enemy territory, suffering heavy losses due to its dangerous mission profile. Now, this is the Volt RF-8 Crusader, a modified fighter equipped with cameras instead of guns. It allowed pilots to get close to the action and document the war. Boeing RB-47H Stratojet, a specialized strategic jet. It gathered electronic signals while flying carefully planned missions along the borders of the conflict zone. Continuing with electronic warfare and SIGINT jets, Douglas EB-66 Destroyer, an essential electronic warfare platform that used high-powered jammers to protect American strike packages from North Vietnamese radar and SAMs. Grumman EA-6AB Prowler, arriving late in the war, this dedicated jammer blinded North Vietnamese air defenses during the intense Linebacker 2 bombing operations. Douglas EA-3B Sky Warrior, this was a double threat on the carrier deck. It could refuel other jets or jam enemy signals depending on the mission needs. Douglas EF-10B Skyknight, an older jet given a new and important job. It provided early electronic jamming support for the Marine Corps during the air war. Boeing RC-135 series, a large intelligence gathering jet. It sat back and listened to enemy communications from high above to provide vital information. Boeing EC-135, a flying command post. It coordinated complex air operations and kept communications open across the entire theatre of war. Next up, jet-powered unmanned drones. Ryan Model 147 Lightning Bug, an early unmanned drone used to photograph high-threat areas like Hanoi and Haiphong without risking the life of a human pilot. Ryan BQM-34 Firebee, a remote-controlled scout. It was used for high-altitude reconnaissance and for testing the strength of enemy air defenses. Continuing with transport, tanker and VIP jets. Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker, the indispensable young Tiger tankers, allowed fuel-hungry fighters and bombers to reach targets deep in North Vietnam and return safely. The next one, Lockheed C-141 Starlifter, famously nicknamed the Hanoi Taxi. This transport jet was responsible for bringing home the first American POWs during Operation Homecoming in 1973. Now this is the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy. This massive airlifter was vital for rushing tanks and heavy equipment to South Vietnam during the critical 1972 Easter Offensive. Then Lockheed C-140 Jetstar, a small and fast transport jet. It was used to move high-ranking officers and urgent documents quickly between bases. McDonnell Douglas C-9 Nightingale, a specialized flying hospital that revolutionized the rapid medical evacuation of wounded soldiers from the war zone to hospitals in the US. Boeing 727, a familiar commercial jet. It was used to move large numbers of troops in and out of the region with speed and comfort. Boeing 747, the original jumbo jet. It handled the massive task of moving thousands of military personnel across the ocean during the war. Moving on to utility and training jets. Lockheed T-33, Shooting Star, a reliable two-seat trainer. It was used for keeping pilots current and for performing various utility flights throughout the war. Cessna T-37 Tweet, known for its distinctive high-pitched scream. This small jet was used to train new pilots in the basics of jet flight. North American T-39 Saberliner, a sleek business jet used by the military. It served as a fast transport for small groups of personnel and high-priority cargo. Grumman TF-9J Cougar, a trainer version of a classic Navy fighter. It helped naval aviators transition into higher performance jet aircraft. Northrop T-38 Talon, a supersonic trainer jet. It gave pilots the experience they needed to handle the fastest and most advanced fighters in the fleet. Finally, we have hybrid jets. Lockheed AP 2H OP-2E Neptune, modified for Operation Igloo White. These jets dropped acoustic and seismic sensors along the Ho Chi Minh Trail to detect North Vietnamese truck convoys.